Group 4 Imperialism Review by Taylor
Cameron.
Austin. Jack.
Economic changes of imperialism in the 18th and 19th centuries. The British East India Company played a role in hegemony by the British ruling over India. The company was chartered by Queen Elizabeth of England. The company took over markets in India and exploited and abused their natural resources to benefit themselves. The British built schools, railroads, and businesses in India, giving the British great economic gain. Between 1875 and 1900, Europe conquered most of Africa. It created borders causing wars due to border arguments, the scramble for Africa. Before 1880, only 10% of Africa was controlled by Europe. And due to white man's burden, Europe felt the need to come and settle it for economic gain and other stuff. King Leopold of Belgium and Stanley started huge trading posts in Africa, somewhere around the Congo. And 1884 to 1885, the Berlin Conference was established in Berlin to settle the arguments between the European control over Africa.
Social changes of imperialism in the 18th and 19th centuries. Social changes from imperialism were not only negative but also positive to the countries who were conquered. Some of the larger nations conquering smaller nations actually helped the smaller nations by building roads, canals, and railways. They also built schools for them and gave them religion. They helped to show them better means of food production and transportation as well. Some negative changes included lack of freedom more than anything. They were taken advantage of, and when white men came, they had so much power over them and forced Christianity on them. Some countries made them slaves and worked them for cheap labor. Overall, these mother countries gave them no rights and forced their culture on the smaller countries.
Patterns of migration during the 18th and 19th centuries. Increased need of labor caused forced slave migration from European colonies in Africa to Latin America. The diminishment of the Atlantic slave trade gave rise of self-bound contract labor migrations from Europe to colonies in India and Africa. Industrialization in Europe and Britain encouraged migration wherever it appeared. Millions of agricultural workers left the countryside and moved to cities, resulting in urbanization during the industrialization period. Over 50 million people left Europe for the Americas. Instances such as the Irish potato famine caused these migrations to the Americas, and the Americas provided an economic and social regenesis. Companies such as the British East Indian Company were a cause for migration from Britain to India. Increasing globalized markets driven from European industrialization caused migrations as far west as the Americas and as far east as India.
Scientific and popular racism in the 18th and 19th centuries. Both of these had a huge impact during imperialistic times. Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection was adapted to human terms to make whites feel better about oppressing other races. Scientific racism is the use of scientific techniques and hypotheses to sanction the belief in racial superiority and inferiority. Racialists such as Robert Boyle and George Cuvier asserted that Europeans were superior in civilization and intellect. Popular racism is when entire imperial populations, such as Britain, acknowledge that they are more advanced than non-white societies. They use this racism to justify taking over and civilizing lesser cultures.